I want to teach you something that blew me away the first time that I heard it. And it is work by Jeff Van Vonderen. And it really made a change in my life and how I thought about family systems. And that's super important. So this is going to blow you away, might actually offend you, but let's talk a little bit about it. And then we can move forward with how to change it. All right. So if you're on the podcast, I'm sorry, but I am doing a visual. And what I'm going to do is let's say you have 5 family members. All right. So I'm putting up 5 family members in a circle on my little pink board because I don't have a white board. I'd rather have a pink board. And we're going in a circle of these 5 family members. So they're in a circle, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mom, dad, and a couple of kids. So we've got this circle going, and say one person has an accident, all right? And maybe they broke their arm. So that person ends up in the middle, okay? And this is pretty normal. One of my favorite comics, Andy Andrews, says you're either coming from a crisis, you're going to a crisis, or you're getting ready to have a crisis. So oftentimes there is something happen and there is one person in the middle. Well, when you take the person from the outside, then all those other people have to pick up the obligations of that other person. So, let's say, just for the sake of argument, that this person was about 12 years old. They were responsible for feeding the dog. They were responsible for doing the dishes a couple nights a week. They cleaned their own room. They had some chores, but it wasn't like the family earner was out of the loop. So what happens is these other people on the outside have to pick up those chores. So while this person, their arm is broken, they're hurting, not only are they caring for that person, maybe they have to go get their homework, maybe they can't go to school for a week or so, maybe there's medication, extra doctor's appointments. Not only has there been extra burden because there is an injury, there's also extra burden because they have to pick up what would be routine chores for that child. Right. So then what happens is that happens for a couple weeks and everything goes along and people understand there's clearly a broken arm. So they pick up those chores. So the family dynamic works like that. All right. So that child gets well, comes back out. Now they're feeding the dog, cleaning the room, no more doctor's appointments for them. And for a while, everything functions just fine until something else happens. So maybe mom loses her job. Okay. So she comes into the middle and now she's at home, maybe picking up more of the family stuff, but there's an extra burden on dad for supplying the income. So he needs a little more attention. He needs some of his family jobs lifted, or maybe she's not doing as much in the family because she has to spend more time out looking for a job to replace the one that they had. So she is getting more of the attention because she is the person needing it at that point in time. Listen to this very clearly. This is a healthy family. Somebody is probably always in the middle. You may work like this for a little bit. Somebody's probably always in the middle. That's fine. And then they come back out. So mom gets a new job. She comes back out. Everybody picks up their chores. All is well, right? So everybody most often gets a chance to shift in the middle. And sometimes it's just for a little bit of time. Like when somebody is sick for 2 weeks, or hey, when we all had COVID, one person was in the middle, one person was out, and then it's impossible for everybody to get in the middle. They can try, but if 2, 3 people are in the middle, then what do? We call in reinforcements. So then somebody comes from the outside. This often happens during a funeral, or if there is a major illness. So then we may get some extra people coming from the outside to help, right? So grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, they come in, church suppers get brought. Everybody's in the middle of the whole house is down with COVID. So then these outside people come in. This is normal. This is how community takes care of itself. This is a good thing. So then, we get well from COVID, like we had a couple of years ago. Everybody comes back out, right? These people say, "Oh, glad you're well." They go on with their lives. And occasionally, we need to go down and help somebody else. That's all normal. What happens in addiction, what kind of kills the family dynamic, is somebody gets in the middle and they don't leave. They never ever leave. So this person, it's oh, let's not upset mom or dad. So the children start picking up adult chores, cooking, cleaning, going to the grocery store, doing things that are not necessarily age appropriate, getting mom or dad to bed, all those things. They start picking up more adult things. Sometimes when a person stays stuck in the middle, the other adult can begin to check out because they feel overwhelmed by this, or they can get very controlling. So not only are they keeping that person in the middle because it's just easier. If they give them responsibility, it doesn't always get done. They don't pay the bills. They don't take care of things on time. So it's just easier to keep them in the middle where where they are. So this is the unhealthy model, not because somebody requires extra attention, but because they never come back out and pick up what's expected of them. Now, so this person gets in the middle, and there may be a habit or there may be a generational area where that's what's expected. So there may have been a family dynamic of, hey, we just take care of that person. That's how that works. So they have come from a family where, there's always a person in the middle, the same person's in the middle, and it seems normal. That's when you really begin to get that generational issue of, oh, well, dad just doesn't do those things. He goes to work and that's all he does, and he doesn't pick up around the house, and he doesn't deal with the children, and he doesn't do this. He goes out with his buddies drinking, all those types of things. That's just normal. If that's your normal and you're okay with it, then maybe your family functions like that. But that is not how healthy families function, coming out of the circle, not always dependent on the extra people. They're there if you need them, but you're not always dependent on them. And everybody picks up their own area and they flow in and out as needs are required. For loved ones of addicts, especially when this is a child, sometimes it is just easier to keep them in the middle. We keep picking up their rooms. We keep making excuses. We keep funding them with money. We feel a lot of guilt and shame, often because we came from a situation that we didn't feel was good. So we're going to make up for it up here, and we're going to make sure this child has everything they need, often to the detriment of the other children. Unfortunately, I was talking with someone, a person that said, this person became very rageful and became dangerous, but the adults did not decide to take care of that, and they felt unsafe and needed to leave. So that is sometimes where it gets to. It doesn't always get there, but that child who is on the outside, instead of the one that everybody is looking at and spending so much time and energy on, is not getting their turn when they need it in the crisis situation, and they're expected to pick up extra. So I hope that makes sense, that this flow in and out is super important. Now, what are we doing that creates that dynamic? We can say that it's all about the person who either has the addiction or to work, to alcohol, to not getting their grades done, to whatever it is. We can say it's all about them, but there is a reason why we keep this person in the middle. And that's the most interesting piece of this family dynamic system. There's a reason why we keep this person stuck. Either it's easier, it's less costly, I know where they are, I'm able to take care of it, I feel safer when this is happening. So if we label this as the adult and they are taking care of everything, they are purposely keeping this person in the middle because it makes them feel in control. That's where the family dynamic needs to shift into a healthier model. And that's about releasing some of the control. So this person may complain, oh my goodness, I have to do everything. I'm the cook, the chief bottle washer, I'm everything. He can't even pay a bill, or she can't get a job, or nobody takes care of the children but me. They're holding on to that control for their own reason. They're not setting clear boundaries for their own reasons. So that's where family coaching, working with a craft model that looks at the whole dynamic, is something that will change the whole family and the lives of the family. Now, here's another interesting piece. So say this person who's in the middle does go away, does get the help they need, does start picking up what they should be doing, and they're ready to come to the outside of the circle. Well, if this is the other adult, they may say, no, 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 no. I've been doing this and I do a great job. I'm not willing to let this happen because you will screw it up, or you will fail, or you won't do it right. This person themselves has a lot of fear, has a lot of concern. And yes, they've been carrying the bag the whole time. They've been carrying the responsibility, but they're not willing to turn it over. That's what my husband and I found when we started doing this work, is that's when marriages fall apart, is when one person gets sober or takes care of their addiction or works through whatever their piece of the puzzle is, and the other person's not ready for that because they're still stuck in the old pattern. So if you put this newer, healthier person back in this old pattern and everybody wants to push them back into the middle and they're not willing to do that, that's where you get relationships that break down. They're not willing to support the family concept of them anymore. When the person gets sober or changes their habits or lets go of something detrimental, they change everybody in the circle. And so the other person has to change too. Oftentimes, the person has been praying for sobriety, has been praying for a change in phone addiction or work addiction or whatever it is. But when it actually happens, they are nowhere near prepared for it to happen. And they don't necessarily want the circle to function the way it has been functioning, but they're not ready for the new responsibility and how it is going to function again because they haven't worked on themselves and they haven't looked at where their piece of the situation is. There is a reason that that person was stuck in the middle, not just on their own, but because of the environment. So as you're beginning to look at this, that's where the whole family needs to begin to take responsibility for what the environment looks like. Because when you tap one side of this circle, when you tap one side of it, just like when you tap a baby's mobile or something like that, it's the butterfly effect. The other side jiggles too. So as we're looking at this, what we're looking for is this healthy moving in and out circle, can accept help, can work through the vulnerable spaces, and can be honest. It is not only when the alcoholic, the addict, the person who is suffering cannot be honest with themselves that the recovery doesn't happen. It's when their system can't be honest too. So if somebody goes away, gets help, and then gets dropped back in a chaotic system that doesn't know how to function, wow, that's almost impossible for them to pull themselves out. So not only does there have to be some conversation around what's going to change, there has to be some airing out and some clearing conversations about what happened. So let me read you a quote by Brene Brown that is about the vulnerability that needs to happen in this family system for it to be healthy. As children, we found ways to protect ourselves from being vulnerable, from being hurt, diminished, and disappointed. We put on armor. We used our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as weapons, and we learned how to make ourselves scarce, even disappear. Now, as adults, we realize that to live with courage, purpose, and connection, to be the person whom we long to be, we must again be vulnerable. We must take off the armor, put down the weapons, and show up and let ourselves be seen. So as long as we have characterized this person as someone who needs help and can't manage themselves or manage their responsibilities, we've labeled that as a category in the family, and we're going to keep them there because that suits our family and how it runs. But when they say no more, and when they get healthy and come back out, the other 4 people in the family, 2 people, 3 people, however many, are lost. Now, what is their role? They're no longer the person that runs away. They're no longer the person who caretakes. They're no longer the person who handles the responsibility. What is their role? If you or your family are experiencing some shift like this, or would like to experience some shift like this, that is something that I can help you with. In a coaching situation, we can work together as a family, we can work together as individuals. But finding your vulnerability, finding your voice, and finding your responsibility in this shift is of utmost importance if you want lasting connection and lasting sobriety, whatever the hurt, habit, or hang up is, lasting relationship, then this shift has to take place. It is not just about them. It is about you and the environment and the relationship. So I'm Tanya Joya. Set up a strategy call with me and make sure you hit the like button down below so we can keep doing this, and hit subscribe for us. So if you were listening to this on the podcast, be sure and go to YouTube because there are some visuals, some great stick figures, if I do say so myself, on the pink board. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Trust God, tell the truth, clean house.